Statement Monday saying they'd voted to sell their remaining 17.8% share of the Lakers to new owners Josh Kushner and Bob Iger at the same $12.5 billion valuation at which the club was purchased last week. A problem, Governor Jeanie Buss is contesting her siblings' votes, according to a letter from her attorney obtained by ESPN.
Jeanie Buss's own family just tried to betray her by selling off their stake in the Lakers behind her back, threatening her control of the franchise. It's a move that sent shockwaves through the league, and the initial reports were, quite frankly, just the tip of the iceberg. The valuation alone is insane, but the family dynamics involved make this a story straight out of a primetime drama, and what they just said proves exactly why.
What more do you have on this?
Yeah, listen, Jeanie Buss was the only one of the 6 siblings not to vote to sell. And what we're going to have now is a discussion about a court order from 2017.
So, Jeanie Buss was the only one of her 6 siblings who refused to sell their shares. This isn't just a disagreement, it's a direct challenge to her authority as the controlling owner. Her lawyers are invoking a 2017 court order, which basically says she runs the show. But here's what makes this even crazier. The siblings didn't just casually vote to sell, they thought they had a loophole, and it puts Jeanie in an impossible position.
Is a discussion about a court order from 2017, which her lawyer invoked in his letter to the other 5 siblings, saying, hey, we settled this in 2017. She's the controlling owner of the Buss family shares, okay? So the Buss family trust.
Her lawyer is essentially telling her family, we settled this back in 2017. She is the controlling owner. This isn't just about money, it's about power and control over one of the most iconic franchises in sports. If this 2017 order truly gives Jeanie the final say, then her siblings just tried to make an end run around a legally binding agreement. And that's not even the worst part. The implications for the Lakers' future are enormous.
Owns the 17.8% of the stock. There are 3 co-trustees. That's Jeanie Buss and Joey Buss and Jeanie Buss. And
the Buss family trust owns that 17.8% of the stock, and Jeanie, Joey, and Jesse Buss are the co-trustees. But the language of that court order, which we're hearing about here, is absolutely critical. It's not just a guideline, it's a mandate. This means her siblings' move wasn't just ill-advised. It might have been legally invalid from the start, pushing this from a family spat to a full-blown legal battle. The question is, how could they have miscalculated this badly?
Which we've also obtained and read through, they are not allowed to sell without...
They are not allowed to sell without her consent. Let that sink in. This isn't some informal family understanding. It's explicitly laid out in a court order. This elevates the entire situation from a sibling squabble to a potential breach of contract, or even fiduciary duty. The stakes just got exponentially higher, and the financial ramifications for everyone involved could be staggering if Jeanie prevails. This family feud just went nuclear.
Allowed to sell without her consent, okay, because she's the controlling owner of these shares. Now, the 5 siblings believe that they are allowed to sell as part of a tag-along provision that was part of the agreement with Mark Walter, which is if Mark Walter ever sold his shares, they had the option to tag along with whatever valuation he got. As we know, last week I reported that it was $12.5 billion that he had got as a valuation for his shares from Josh Kushner and Bob Iger.
Now most people hear that and think, case closed, Jeanie wins. But watch what happens next. The 5 siblings believe they have a tag-along provision. This means if Mark Walter sold his shares, they had the right to sell theirs at the same valuation. This is where the legal gymnastics truly begin. It's a clash of 2 powerful legal arguments, and it shows just how many layers of complexity there are when hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line for family control.
For his shares from Josh Kushner and Bob Iger, and they want to tag along with that. And 5 of them voted for that. The question is going to be, does the court order supersede?
They want to tag along with that $12.5 billion valuation Mark Walter got from Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. This is the heart of their argument. The money is huge, and they believe they're legally entitled to it. However, the legal precedent of a court order governing the controlling owner's authority is extremely difficult to overcome. This isn't just about market value, it's about who has the ultimate say in the Lakers' future, and the next clip is going to flip this entire argument on its head.
The tag-along provision, and as lawyers do, it's going to be a fight in the courts. But the initial sale from Mark Walter to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner, that's not in dispute. What's only in dispute is whether...
The question is going to be, does the court order supersede the tag-along provision? This is the legal equivalent of a heavyweight championship fight. On one side, you have a binding court order establishing Jeannie's controlling ownership. On the other, a common provision in shareholder agreements designed to protect minority investors. It's a high-stakes legal chess match where the outcome could permanently alter the ownership structure of the Lakers, a dynasty built over decades. The financial implications are staggering.
What's only in dispute is whether or not the Buss family can sell their remaining shares. And most importantly, if Jeanie Buss is controlling ownership.
What's only in dispute is whether the Buss family can sell their remaining shares. And, most importantly, if Jeanie Buss's controlling ownership remains intact. This is the crux of the entire saga. It's not about the initial sale from Mark Walter. That's done. It's about the internal power struggle within the Buss family that has been simmering for years, now boiling over into public view. This could fundamentally reshape the Lakers' leadership for generations. And there's even more to this story.
Remains intact. She had 4 years left as part of the agreement she made with Mark Walter. From what I understand,
she had 4 years left as part of the agreement she made with Mark Walter. This isn't just about the family shares. It's about Jeannie's personal longevity and control as the primary governor. This agreement with Walter was her insurance policy, her solid claim to power. Her siblings' move, if successful, would undermine that completely, leaving her vulnerable and potentially removing her from the driver's seat of the franchise her father built. It's an incredibly personal betrayal.
I understand she met with Bob Iger late last week. He reaffirmed to her that he planned to honor that agreement that she had with Mark Walter. And so there was a part of his statement that he said on the record.
From what I understand, she met with Bob Iger late last week, and he reaffirmed his plan to honor that agreement she had with Mark Walter. This is a crucial detail. Iger, as one of the new co-owners, explicitly told Jeannie he respects her position. This puts the siblings in an even tougher spot. If a new major partner is already backing Jeannie, it suggests their tag-along argument might not hold as much weight as they hoped. It raises questions about who knew what and when.
Statement that he said on the record, which was if something changes, then it changes. Well, the question is, has something changed?
There was a part of his statement that he said on the record, which was, if something changes, then it changes. This is the subtle but devastating blow to the siblings' plan. Iger's statement, while seemingly innocuous, essentially leaves the door open for him to change his stance if the legal situation warrants it. It's a lawyerly way of saying, I'm with Jeannie unless a court forces me not to be. This statement adds incredible pressure to the siblings' shaky legal ground.
The question is, has something changed? And the 5 siblings believe it has. She doesn't.
Well, the question is, has something changed? And the 5 siblings believe it has. She doesn't. This is the ultimate showdown. The siblings are betting that the tag-along provision, combined with the new ownership, has fundamentally altered the landscape enough to override the 2017 court order. But Jeannie, backed by that court order and seemingly Iger's initial support, is holding firm. This isn't just about money. It's about who defines the future of the Los Angeles Lakers.
Between the Clippers and those sponsors, and also this sort of failure to supervise discussion.
The other big story that Ramona was covering earlier, before the Buss family drama exploded, was the Clippers' Kawhi Leonard investigation, specifically concerning a failure to supervise discussion. This seems like a minor detail, but for a league extremely sensitive to tampering and salary cap circumvention, it's a huge red flag. It implies the NBA isn't just looking for direct payments, but also for lax oversight that could enable such activities, making the entire organization culpable.
Discussion, and this, some people have read this story as that there's sort of an exoneration happening. This is a negotiation between the Clippers attorneys right now and the league, but it's also an ongoing investigation. Like if there is...
Some people have read this story as an exoneration, but Ramona clarifies, this is a negotiation between the Clippers attorneys right now and the league, but it's also an ongoing investigation. This is a critical distinction. That ongoing negotiation means nothing is settled, and the league is still actively digging. It directly contradicts any premature celebrations from Clippers fans. This situation is far from resolved, and the pressure is mounting for Steve Ballmer.
And like if there is more, there can come out. I think that this should be read as more of a snapshot of where things are right now.
Like if there is more, it can come out. I think that this should be read as more of a snapshot of where things are right now. Ramona is essentially telling us not to jump to conclusions. The NBA is not done here. The phrase more can come out suggests that they might have additional leads or are actively looking for them. This keeps the Clippers, and potentially Kawhi Leonard, squarely in the crosshairs, creating immense uncertainty around their roster and future.
And the reaction around the league has been very interesting today. But let's see what happens, as Baxter detailed, as these negotiations between the parties continue.
The reaction around the league has been very interesting today. But let's see what happens, as Baxter detailed, as these negotiations between the parties continue. This interesting reaction speaks volumes. Other teams are watching closely, not just for the outcome, but for the precedent this investigation sets. If the Clippers get off lightly, it could embolden other franchises. If they face severe penalties, it sends a clear message. The entire NBA is waiting with bated breath.
Between the parties continue, and the process that could play out depending on how those negotiations go.
And the process that could play out depending on how those negotiations go. This emphasizes the unpredictable nature of the legal process. How those negotiations go determines if this goes to arbitration, if fines are levied, or if draft picks are forfeited. This isn't a simple yes or no situation. It's a complex, multi-stage legal battle, and the next clip reminds us of just how much is at stake for the Clippers superstar.
And it's not just whether Kawhi is ultimately impacted by those decisions and what the league might find. He was set to return to Toronto, and this proposed trade, the whole trade's on hold while this thing plays out. The proposed deal was Kawhi going to the Raptors with Brandon Ingram.
And it's not just whether Kawhi is ultimately impacted by those decisions and what the league might find. He was set to return to Toronto in this proposed trade. This is the bombshell. A proposed trade sending Kawhi back to Toronto with significant assets, including Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, and multiple draft picks, is now on hold. This isn't just about the Clippers, it's about a superstar's future, a blockbuster trade, and the ripple effects across the entire league. This investigation is far from isolated.
Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, I don't know if they look for apartments in LA. Also 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a 2027 first-round pick swap going to the West Coast.
The whole trade's on hold while this thing plays out. The proposed deal was Kawhi going to the Raptors with Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick. I don't know if they look for apartments in LA. Also, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a 2027 first-round pick swap going to the West Coast. This is a massive trade package. 2 firsts, 2 seconds. A pick swap. That's a king's ransom. The fact that it's all frozen in suspended animation due to this investigation highlights the immense stakes for multiple franchises. This could derail off-season plans for both the Raptors and the Clippers.
We'll focus now.
One of the things that our sources are telling us that the NBA is looking at is the nature of the introductions that the Los Angeles Clippers help facilitate.
One of the things that our sources are telling us that the NBA is looking at is the nature of the introductions that the Los Angeles Clippers helped facilitate. This is where the league is focusing its microscope, the nature of the introductions. It's not about direct payments, it's about how the Clippers use their influence to connect Kawhi's camp with team sponsors. This is a far more subtle form of alleged circumvention, harder to prove, but equally damaging to the league's integrity. It's a nuanced line the NBA is trying to draw.
Now, the Clippers have been upfront and adamant ever since this began that their introductions have been above board, that it's standard practice around the league.
Now the Clippers have been upfront and adamant ever since this began that their introductions had been above board, that it's standard practice around the league. The Clippers are sticking to their guns, claiming standard practice. But this defense is a double-edged sword. If it is standard practice, the NBA might use this case to redefine what's permissible, creating a chilling effect across the league. However, if they are indeed found to be innocent, it would be a major blow to the league's investigative credibility. Either way, this sets a massive precedent.
That their introductions have been above board, that it's standard practice around the league. And other sources that we've talked to have told us that if the crux of the NBA's case is focusing on the introductions and not specifically hard evidence of salary cap circumvention.
And other sources that we've talked to have told us that if the crux of the NBA's case is focusing on the introductions and not specifically hard evidence of salary cap circumvention, this is the silver lining for the Clippers, if there is one. If the NBA lacks hard evidence of direct salary cap circumvention, their case weakens significantly. Focusing solely on introductions makes it an uphill battle for the league, especially in arbitration, which brings us to the next critical point.
Convention that they didn't expect that this would be a case that could survive arbitration. That is the next step in a potential process.
That they didn't expect that this would be a case that could survive arbitration. That is the next step in a potential process. This is the crucial legal analysis. If this goes to arbitration, the Clippers feel confident they can win, especially without direct evidence of cap circumvention. This suggests the NBA is treading a fine line, trying to prove a violation without a smoking gun. The outcome here will shape how the NBA handles similar allegations for years to come, making this investigation far more impactful than just a Kawhi trade.
Arbitration. That is the next step in a potential process towards a resolution in this matter. I think there's two important dates to keep in mind. In mid-September, there's going to be an NBA Board of Governors meeting, and I think that that will serve as kind of an inflection point as to we might have some clarity by then. If not by then potentially by the end of the month at the very least, when media day and training camps are set to begin for the coming season.
Towards a resolution in this matter, I think there's two important dates to keep in mind. In mid-September, there's going to be an NBA Board of Governors meeting, and I think that that will serve as kind of an inflection point as to we might have some clarity by then. If not by then potentially by the end of the month at the very least, when media day and training camps are set to begin for the coming season. Two key dates: the Board of Governors meeting in September, and the start of media day training camps. These are hard deadlines. The NBA has to have some clarity by then, not just for the Clippers and Raptors, but for the entire league. The uncertainty surrounding Kawhi and the Clippers cannot drag into the season, making a resolution incredibly urgent. The clock is ticking and the pressure is mounting.
According to 3 people with knowledge of the NBA's investigation into the LA Clippers, the league has found no evidence that owner Steve Ballmer funneled money through team sponsors to pay Kawhi Leonard in order to circumvent the salary cap. An 11-month-long investigation examined at least 4 companies that had deals with the team.
Examining this key moment, according to 3 people with knowledge of the NBA's investigation into the LA Clippers, the league has found no evidence. This breakdown reveals crucial tactical insights.
Potential late developments into the night Monday. What else can you share?
Well, I think a lot of this should be read as the snapshot of where things are right now. And I think what Baxter was talking about the league discussing with Steve Ballmer's attorneys right now.
Examining this key moment. Well, I think a lot of this should be spread as a snapshot of where things are right now. And I think that this breakdown reveals crucial tactical insights.